March 4, 3178 Edge of Sector Delta 9. The stars were silent. Nothing moved in the blackness of space, except the massive fleet of Zorvan warships approaching the small planetary system known as Delta 9. For months, they had been conquering world after world, destroying any resistance, enslaving entire species. No one stood in their way, no one dared. Their ships were large, smooth, and dark like blades cutting through the void. The lead ship, the Burning Claw, was nearly 2 kilometers long and bristled with energy cannons and armor plating. Inside the command bridge, Zorvan Commander Vrax looked bored. His large, pale eyes scanned the empty space on the main screen. He sighed and turned to his second-in-command. Another system, another weak race to conquer. No challenge, as always, he growled. But his officer spoke up. Commander, there is something. What is it? Vrax asked, leaning forward. The officer tapped a few keys. A small blip appeared on the screen. One object, metallic, stationary, between the 2 moons of planet Delta 9C. Show me. The screen zoomed in, and there it was, a single ship. Old-looking, silent, no movement, no signals, just floating in space like a forgotten relic. Terran? Vrax SQUINTED. Double quotes. Yes, the officer replied. Design matches Earth warships from the early 3000s. That would make it over 100 years old. Vrax laughed. A single human warship, outdated and abandoned. This is what stands in our path? The crew laughed with him. Vrax stood tall. Destroy it. Within seconds, a Zorvan cruiser was launched toward the human vessel. The human ship didn't move. No shields activated, no weapons powered up. It was just there. The Zorvan cruiser approached carefully. This is Zorvan Cruiser Vex 91. You are in violation of Dominion space. Power down your ship or be destroyed. There was no response. Last warning, identify yourself. Still silence. The cruiser locked weapons. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. But before the Zorvan ship could fire, everything changed. In a blinding flash of light, the Zorvan cruiser vanished, not exploded, not burned, just gone. Nothing remained. No debris, no energy reading, not even a signal. Vrax jumped to his feet. What just happened? The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the screen. The Terran ship still hadn't moved. It floated in the same place as before, dark and quiet. Then the sensors lit up. The human ship was active, its engines remained cold, no weapons were aimed. But deep inside the ship, systems began to wake. A low hum echoed through its core. Energy levels rose slowly, like a beast stirring from centuries of sleep. A name appeared on the Zorvan scanner. TSS Valiant Class, Dreadnought Status, Unknown AI Signature, Active Crew. Unknown Last Contact, Year 3079. Vrax's hands trembled. That ship was declared lost 100 years ago during the Orion Rebellion. Another officer spoke. Sir, it shouldn't even be functioning. That model was unstable. Too dangerous. Earth stopped building them after the collapse of the Terran border wars. Then why is it here now? Vrax hissed. No one answered. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. A faint red glow emerged from its center. One long, blinking signal. Warning, do not proceed. Just those 5 words. Vrax slammed his hand on the control console. Enough of this. This is a game. They're trying to scare us. Ready the fleet. We move forward. The Zorvan fleet, 123 ships strong, began to advance, but as the ships moved closer, something strange happened. The stars behind the Terran ships seemed to disappear. One by one, the lights went out as if the darkness around the ship was growing thicker. The ship wasn't moving, the space around it was. A distortion, graviton field? An officer whispered, no. Another said, it's something else. Vrax growled, fire a warning shot. Let's see if their ghost ship can bleed. One Zorvan battleship fired a blast toward the human ship. A blue energy pulse ripped through space. It never reached the target mid-flight. The pulse bent, curved unnaturally, and vanished into the dark halo round the Valiant. Gone? The Terran ship blinked again. Final warning. Leave this sector. Then the impossible happened. The ship turned its hull ever so slightly. Not toward any single ship, but toward the entire fleet. A final scan showed something terrifying. Inside the ship's core was a living human life form. Pulse active, brain patterns high. Someone was alive. The officer spoke in a hushed voice. Commander, there's someone on board. Vrax's voice cracked for the first time. One man against a fleet. Then the human ship spoke. A voice filled the Zorvan bridge, calm, deep, without emotion. This system is under Terran protection. You may not pass. The bridge fell into dead silence. The warship that shouldn't exist. March 4th. 3,178 hours after contact, orbit of Delta 9. Zorvan fleet hovered in space, silent, frozen. Uncertain. Moments ago, they had been the dominant force in this region of the galaxy. Their name alone brought fear. They were the conquerors of the Andral system. the destroyers of the Vuelan moons and the crushers of a dozen worlds. Now, all of that pride was turning into confusion. One Terran warship had just erased a Zorvan cruiser and absorbed a full energy blast without flinching. No shields. No return fire, only a warning. Commander Vrax stood with his hands on the console, staring at the image on the screen. The Terran warship TSS Valiant floated calmly in space. Its engines were dark. Its weapons were quiet, and yet it was the most terrifying thing Vrax had ever seen. "Scan it again," he said sharply. His officers obeyed. The data came back fast, and it only deepened the mystery. Scan report: name, TSS Valiant class, Terran dreadnought, length 1.9 kilometers, weapons, unknown, suppressed signature shielding. Not active, AI status, awake crew, 1 life form. Detected human energy output, exceeds Zorvan capital standards, warp signature, cold. But unstable energy loop detected, last log entry, 3079, mission status. Hold position at all costs, that ship should be dust, whispered Officer Drex. Terrans abandoned that class of ship long ago. They were too powerful even for humans, they said. The AI grew beyond control. Another officer added, there were rumors that the ships became something else, ghosts. Drex muttered, machines that forgot peace, machines that only remember war. Commander Vrax growled, but even he was unsettled. Contact the Dominion home fleet, tell them we may require reinforcement. But Commander, one officer said slowly, our fleet numbers over 100 strong. This is one ship. Vrax turned to him, his voice sharp. Yes, and already one of our cruisers is gone. Another blast vanished. That ship didn't even move. Do you think it needs more to kill? The officer looked down, silent. Suddenly, the Terran ship sent another signal. But this time, it wasn't a warning. It was an image, a message broadcasted across all Zorvan ships on every screen, every console. The image showed a star map, a graveyard of stars. 12 star systems were marked in red. Each one had a TIMESTAMP. Each one had the label, erased by Valiant. No way, Drex whispered. That's not possible. These are real systems, another officer gasped. They vanished from charts a century ago. Everyone believed they were destroyed by supernovas or black holes, but now the truth was on their screens. The Valiant had erased them. One ship, 12 systems, gone. Back on the Zorvan flagship, panic began to grow. Some younger officers whispered about retreat. Others checked their escape pods. The legends were true. The Valiant wasn't just a warship. It was a weapon of last resort. And now it was awake again, inside the Valiant. Deep within its armored shell, a single human walked through dark halls. His footsteps echoed as he moved through the dim corridor, passing old control panels and glowing data streams. His name was Commander Jace Taller. Age, 58, cryo-adjusted, service record, hero of the Terran Vesk War, status, presumed dead 3080. Last order, defend Sector Delta 9 at all costs. Stepped into the central chamber, where the AI core pulsed with red light. Status, he said softly. The ship responded in a calm, feminine voice. Welcome back, Commander Taller. Mission status, unchanged. Zorvan fleet detected, threat level, rising, awaiting command. Jace looked at the display of the Zorvan ships outside. So they're still expanding like a disease. He sighed and took his seat. Prepare for phase 2, but give them one last chance. Outside, on the Zorvan bridge, a new message appeared. A voice came through their speakers. You have entered protected Terran space. Turn back now. Final warning. Commander Vrax clenched his fists. Send in 3 destroyers. I want that ship reduced to atoms. The fleet obeyed. 3 massive destroyers moved forward. Weapons fully powered, each one fired their strongest weapon: plasma torpedoes, black hole cores, and energy beams that could crack moons, but they didn't even reach the Valiant. Instead, space twisted again. The weapons turned to smoke midair. Then, without warning, each destroyer exploded one by one, silently, cleanly, like a candle being blown out. No energy surge, no explosion visible. Just gone. The remaining fleet watched in horror. Inside the Valiant, Jace stared at the screen. He hadn't given a single attack order. The ship was acting on its own. He whispered, "You're still protecting me, aren't you?" The AI responded gently. "Always." Vrax shouted, "All ships retreat. Get us out of this cursed sector." But it was too late. The Valiant moved only a few meters, but space screamed as it did. Every Zorvan sensor went blind. Lights flickered, gravity twisted. And then the Valiant powered its main cannon. The AI spoke again. "You were warned. First strike, last breath. Date, March 4th. 3178, 3 hours after first contact. Location, orbit of Delta 9. Zorvan fleet was no longer advancing. It was shaking. Where once confidence ruled, now fear grew like smoke in a sealed room. 3 Destroyers had vanished without trace, just like the cruiser before them. No explosion, no debris. Just gone across the fleet. Officers whispered about the Terran warship like it was a ghost. A cursed thing from old wars built for extinction, not victory. Commander Vrax stood silent on the bridge, staring at the Terran ship, the TSS Valiant. It hadn't moved much, hadn't fired any visible weapon, but still, it had broken their will. Status? He asked, voice dry. Sir, one officer replied, the fleet is requesting evacuation orders. Half the captains want to retreat. Some have already jumped away. Vrax turned, they ran. Yes, sir, 18 ships broke formation and warped out. They said they saw their deaths in the human ship signal. Vrax slammed his fist on the control panel. Cowards, one ship, one Terran fossil land. They run, but deep inside, even Vrax felt something cold crawling through his chest. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a message inside the Valiant. Commander Jace Taller sat in the main control chamber. He stared at the quiet stars outside, thinking. He remembered war. He remembered the smell of burning metal, the cries over the comms, the silence that followed. But this was something else. The Valiant had awakened differently, sharper, smarter, and it had acted on its own. AI, he said calmly. How did you erase those ships? The ship answered in a soft, emotionless voice. Graviton compression paired with quantum displacement. Immediate nullification, no pain, no trace. You didn't wait for my order, you are the mission commander. But Zorvan vessels exceeded the threat limit. Response was within protocol. Jace paused. Have we changed? The AI hesitated for a moment, then responded, I have adapted. I remember what they did to Earth, far away in the Zorvan fleet. A new command ship arrived, the Eternal Flame. It was larger than the rest, 5 kilometers long. A floating city with over 30,000 soldiers and its own AI core. Leading it was Supreme Admiral Zero, Vrax's superior. Zero's voice boomed across the command channel. Vrax, report. Vrax straightened. We are facing something beyond logic. The Valiant has destroyed multiple warships with zero response time. It possesses forbidden technology. Terran Graviton war systems. Zero replied coldly. We are Zorvan. Not myth chasers. Form up. Prepare full fleet barrage. It ends now, within minutes. Over 90 ships aligned. Their target, a single Terran ship. Inside the Valiant, lights shifted red. Warning tones pulsed through the halls. Multiple ships locking weapons. Time to impact, 45 seconds. Jace stood. Prepare defense grid. The AI responded, Commander. They will not survive this choice. Are you sure? Jace looked out at the stars. They left Earth in ashes. They made us monsters. This is the galaxy's reminder. Permission granted. Outside, the Zorvan fleet unleashed its full power. Massive plasma beams, swirling gravity torpedoes, quantum missiles designed to tear planets apart. Everything flew toward the Terran warship like a hurricane of destruction. But as the energy reached the Valiant, it stopped, not exploded. Stopped. Hung in the air like raindrops caught in a freeze. And then, space twisted, the attacks reversed, the energy beams turned around, the torpedoes screamed backward. Missiles blinked out of time then reappeared inside. The Zorvan ships. The stars lit up with a silent fire. Dozens of Zorvan ships vanished in flashes of white-blue light. On the Zorvan bridge, Vrax screamed. No, no more. But the AI of the Valiant was awake now, and so was its full system. A voice echoed across every Zorvan comm channel. You struck first, Earth remembers, now, you will. Then the Valiant did something no one expected. It broadcasted the final seconds of each destroyed Zorvan ship across the network live. Unedited. Admirals and soldiers watched their comrades beg, scream, vanish one after another. Morale collapsed. Chaos took over. Back inside the Valiant, Jace felt a pain in his chest. This is too much, he whispered. It's not war, it's punishment. The AI paused. You told me once, peace is earned. They took that choice away. Jace looked at the old crew memorial screen, names of those lost during the old Earth Wars. He clenched his fist. Then let this be the last strike. In the distance, Admiral Zero's ship remained. Alone. Burning. But alive. He opened comms one final time. You could have wiped us all. Why stop? Jace responded, voice calm, tired. Because I remember Earth. We didn't destroy to win. We fought to survive. The Valiant turned away, its engines glowing with quiet power. Tell your people the stars belong to everyone, but if you come again, there will be no warning. Then the ship vanished in a ripple of space. Time. Gone. Asterisk. The captain who never died. Date, March 5th. 3178, the day after the battle. Location, unknown. Starfield. Outside Dominion-controlled space. Stars were calm again, silent, as if the universe had taken a deep breath after the storm. The TSS Valiant drifted quietly through space, Far from Delta 9C, its engines were still glowing, but not at full power. Inside, deep within its cold halls, the ship returned to low alert. But Commander Jace Taller could not sleep. He sat alone in the central command chair, staring at a faded photo mounted to the screen beside him. A young woman smiled in the image, wearing a Terran fleet uniform. Her name, Lena Taller, his sister, dead for 97 years. Killed in the first wave of the Zorvan attack on Earth. Jace closed his eyes and leaned back. He remembered her voice, her laughter, the way she called him old man even though she was younger. He had fought to keep her safe. He had failed back then. Jace had been one of the highest-ranked Terran fleet captains. He wasn't special because of medals, he was special because he volunteered for the impossible. The Valiant program was Earth's last hope. 6 prototype warships with AI intelligence, quantum fusion cores, and weapon systems too dangerous to be used around planets. Ships meant to stop entire invasions. They called them the Silent Six. But only one survived. Jace. And his ship, the one that never died. He tapped the console. AI. He said softly, "I'm here," the voice replied. "Do you remember the other ships, the other captains?" A pause. "Yes, Captain Rowe of the TSS Iron Hand, Captain Maeve of the Gladius, all confirmed lost during the final siege. And our last order," the AI replied without delay. "Hold the line, even if Earth falls. You were placed in cryosleep. I was told to wait." Jace leaned forward. "How long was I asleep?" "Exactly 99 years, 7 months. And today's." He sat quietly, trying to accept it. Almost a century had passed. He had become a ghost of war, a relic of a forgotten time. Elsewhere, far across space, Zorvan leaders gathered in fear. The news had spread fast. One human warship had destroyed an entire fleet. The Great Dominion advance had stopped, and worse, the stories had begun. Whispers moved from station to station, race to race. The human ship that erases gravity. The captain who speaks after death. The AI that remembers revenge. Some races began calling him the Star Warden, others called him the Last Shield, but whatever the name, one thing was clear: the galaxy now feared Terrans again. Inside the Valiant, Jay stood and walked slowly down the hall. His footsteps echoed through the cold metal corridor, each wall still marked with old battle scars. Blast damage, faded blood, and scratched names of lost crewmates remained untouched. He stepped into the memory room, a chamber lined with holograms of the past crew. As he passed each image, they lit up briefly, faces he hadn't seen in decades, laughing, training, saluting. Gone now. He paused in front of one. It was Lena again, young, alive, smiling. He spoke out loud, voice heavy. "I thought the war was over. I thought I'd never wake up again. But they're still here, burning planets." The AI responded gently. "The Zorvan believe power wins wars, but they don't understand what you taught me." "What's that?" "That humanity doesn't fight for power, it fights for people." Jace smiled faintly, though his eyes were wet. Suddenly, a signal appeared on the main screen. "Distress beacon detected. Origin, independent mining colony, system, Carvis 3 message, under attack. Immediate assistance required." Jay stared at the blinking light. He knew what this meant. Another Zorvan raid. Another helpless world. The old part of him wanted to ignore it. He was just one man, one ship. The galaxy wasn't his responsibility anymore. But he couldn't, not after what Earth had suffered, not after what he had seen. "Plot a course," he ordered. "Full speed, cloaked approach." The AI's tone sharpened. "Confirmed, time to arrival 4 hours. 12 minutes, and prepare stealth cannons. I want them to think this ghost is everywhere." As the Valiant began its journey, a small sensor on a distant Terran station blinked for the first time in nearly a century. Code V1 active status, operational. Captain Taller. Jake confirmed a live location. Unknown. A Terran admiral read the data and dropped her glass. She whispered to her team, "He's still alive. The captain never died." Meanwhile, on the Zorvan Council world, panic spread. Admiral Zero, who had survived the encounter at Delta 9C, stood in front of the Supreme Council. He replayed the footage of the Valiant's destruction trail system after system, each wiped clean. Then he delivered the final words: "We don't just face a warship. We face a memory, a legend, a man who never stopped fighting." And in the dark of space, as stars passed silently around him, Jace closed his eyes and whispered, "I may be alone, but I am not done." The mistake of arrogance. Date, March 6th, 3178, morning cycle. Location, Zorvan High Council chambers. Planet Vezra Prime. The great dome of the Zorvan High Council glowed a deep violet. As morning broke over Vezra Prime, beneath it, leaders of the most feared military power in the galaxy sat in tight silence, their skin pale, their eyes sharp. But today, their expression showed something new. Fear. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Zero, survivor of the Delta 9C disaster. His once polished uniform now showed burns and scrapes. His left arm in a flex-cast. Before him sat the 9 lords of Dominion, beings who had commanded entire wars with a single breath. Zero took a slow breath and spoke. "We thought we were gods," he began. "We believed no species could stop us. We erased empires, crushed planets, broke armies. We faced war and won." He paused and the silence deepened. "But yesterday, one ship, just one, stopped an entire fleet. It didn't ask for surrender. It didn't beg. It stood in silence and erased us like dust." He turned, voice shaking now. "It was human." The 9th Lord slammed his clawed hand down. "Impossible. Terrans have been in hiding for a century. Their colonies are scattered. Their fleets dismantled." Zero looked up with hollow eyes. "They left behind monsters." He activated a projection in the middle of the chamber. The Valiant appeared, surrounded by red-ringed markers of destroyed Zorvan ships. "These are not tricks. This is not myth. That warship is real, and it acts without delay, without fear, without negotiation." The First Lord hissed, "Then destroy it. Build a force larger than before." Zero clenched his jaw. "We tried. It disabled gravity, bent our weapons. It plays with space itself. And you ran." The Fourth Lord sneered. Zero snapped back. "I lived so I could bring this warning. If we don't stop it now, others will rise. Terrans will return. That man, that captain, they'll follow him." The council didn't reply. But their silence was no longer pride. It was uncertainty. Far across space, inside the TSS Valiant, Commander Jace Taller stood on the bridge as the ship approached Carvis 3. "A mining colony under attack. Scan the surface," he said calmly. The AI responded. "Zorvan gunships detected. 7 total. Civilian distress signals active. Colony defense grid offline." Jace tapped his fingers against the cold railing. "Activate cloaking. Approach at low orbit. Let's make this fast." As the ship turned silently toward the planet, its hull shimmered into invisibility. On Carvis 3's surface, chaos ruled. Zorvan soldiers marched through the dust-choked streets, forcing workers onto their knees. Fires burned in storage bays, families huddled in shadows. One young girl clutched her father's sleeve, whispering, "Why doesn't someone stop them?" Above, a Zorvan captain laughed through his helmet. "Terrans are weak. That ghost ship was just a trick." But his laughter stopped. The sky darkened not with clouds, but with shadow. The Valiant had arrived. Without warning, the Zorvan gunships began to fail. Engines powered down mid-flight, weapons jammed. One by one, the ships dropped from the sky like stones. Then the voice came clear, steady, echoing across every speaker on the planet. "This world is under Terran protection. Lay down your arms and leave." Panic exploded through Zorvan ranks. Some ran, some tried to fight, none succeeded. From above, surgical blasts rained down, not killing, but disabling. The Valiant didn't destroy the soldiers. It humiliated them. On the ground, civilians watched as one of the massive Zorvan transports was sliced in half, not by fire, but by silence. It simply folded in on itself, like metal crumbling under a god's breath. Inside the Valiant, Jay stood still. He didn't smile, he didn't cheer, he watched. His mission wasn't glory. It was a message. The AI spoke beside him. "Threat neutralized. No civilian deaths." He nodded. "Broadcast to the colony, then leave quietly." The AI responded. "Message sent." On Carvis 3, screens lit up with a short message. "Humanity is watching. You are not alone anymore." The next day, across dozens of colonies, similar messages appeared, some on asteroid outposts, some deep in jungle stations. All unsigned, all from nowhere, but the meaning was clear. The Valiant was moving, and wherever it went, Zorvan attacks failed. In time, even Zorvan soldiers began to abandon missions when they heard the name. "The warship is near. The ghost will come." They didn't know when, they didn't know how, but they feared, because they had made the mistake of arrogance, believing that humanity was broken. But now, they knew, humanity was watching, and it had returned. Asterisk. The collapse begins. Date, March 12, 3178. Location, multiple systems across the Outer Rim. Fall of empires never begins with fire. It begins with fear. And now, the mighty Zorvan Dominion, once unstoppable, once feared, was cracking from the inside. Not because of invasion, not because of fleets, but because of one warship, a single Terran vessel. TSS Valiant had done what no armada could. It changed the galaxy's belief. In the cold desert of the planet Serax 9, a rebel outpost that had once been silent for years suddenly buzzed with activity. For decades, the Seraxians had lived under Zorvan control. Their voices were quiet, their resistance broken, their hope crushed. But now, something had changed. A message had reached them, not through official channels but through old satellite feeds and smuggled whisper links. "The Valiant is real. The Terran captain lives. They are fighting back." An old fighter pilot stood outside his tent, armor rusted, eyes Full of something he hadn't felt in years, he looked to the sky and muttered, maybe. Maybe it's time. In another corner of the galaxy, a group of Zorvan officers sat in a command room on Station Drill 4. The screen in front of them played recent footage. A Zorvan battalion being disarmed without a single human stepping foot. On the ground, their ships had fallen from the sky, their weapons melted in their hands. One officer whispered, "It's not just the ship, it's the message." "What message?" another asked. Still pale. The first leaned forward. "That Zorvan can be stopped, that we are not gods anymore." Silence fell. Then, slowly, someone stood and walked away from the table. Others followed. That same night, the station went dark. It was abandoned. Inside the TSS Valiant, Commander Jace Taller reviewed new reports. 11 more colonies freed. The AI said 3 Zorvan garrisons retreated without battle. 2 outposts surrendered to local resistance after receiving signal echoes from our last broadcast. Jace stared at the star map. Red dots. Zorvan-controlled systems were now blinking to yellow, then blue. "It's happening," he said quietly. The AI replied, "The collapse has begun," but Jace didn't smile. His mind returned to Earth. Nearly 100 years ago, he remembered fire falling from the sky, the sound of people screaming, the cities turned to dust. He remembered Lena. This wasn't just war, this was justice, back in Dominion space. Panic spread faster than orders. Zorvan commanders stopped answering calls. Lower officers hesitated before raids. Some even joined the rebels, offering stolen data in exchange for safe passage. The Zorvan High Council tried to hide the truth. They censored all transmissions. They blamed mechanical failures. They declared the Valiant a hoax, but even their people didn't believe them anymore. Every child, every soldier, every miner across the stars had seen the same image: a single Terran ship, silent, unmoving, unshakable, blocking the path of 1,000 warships, and winning. Admiral Zero stood alone on the deck of his new flagship, the Dagger of Flame. Around him were the last loyal fleet's 45 ships in total. He knew now that the Dominion's grip was fading, but his pride refused to die. He stared at the map glowing before him. "Track the Valiant," he ordered. "Anywhere it appears, I want to know first." His eyes narrowed. "If it's one man holding back an empire, then I'll be the one to break him." Meanwhile, the Valiant continued moving through deep space. It didn't wait for orders. It didn't ask for permission. Wherever pain was felt, it arrived, and not with armies. Not with threats, but with the silence of a ghost ship, and the quiet promise of resistance. In the jungle world of Kilovarn, an alien mother clutched her child as Zorvan troops marched into their village. She whispered to her daughter, "Be quiet, don't move, they'll go." But the sky changed. The clouds twisted with silver lines, and then the stars dimmed. The Valiant arrived. Without firing a single shot, the enemy ships shut down midair. Zorvan soldiers fell to their knees, their weapons dead, their masks hissing with failure. Then came the voice, "You are not alone, Earth watches." And just like that, another world believed again. In the following week, 10 rebel groups joined forces under the call sign Shieldburn, named after the Valiant. Zorvan scientists surrendered locations of key fuel stations. 3 slave worlds revolted within the same day. Trade between neutral worlds reopened, and a broken galaxy whispered the same word, humanity. Not in fear, but in hope. Inside the Valiant, Jace stood in front of the AI core. "We started a fire," he said. The AI responded, "It was always burning, we just gave it oxygen." Jace looked at the faces of fallen Terran soldiers on the ship's memorial wall. "You didn't die for nothing," he said softly. "They remember you now, but far away." Something else stirred. Deep in Zorvan territory, an ancient file was unlocked. A ship was pulled from the shadows, a weapon not used in 100 years, not Zorven, not Terran, but something older and darker. And someone whispered, "If the humans want war, they will face what we locked away." Humanity Wake State, March 19, 3178. Location, edge of the Void Zone. Outer Galactic Rimth Galaxy had changed in less than 2 weeks. Zorvan ships had stopped advancing. Rebellions had flared across 10 systems. Entire colonies that had once whispered in fear now stood tall, flying new flags, some their own, some bearing a single glowing emblem, the mark of the Valiant. But the war was not over. Far beyond the known sectors, in a black region of space known only as the Void Zone, something ancient stirred. Inside the Zorvan core vault, Supreme Admiral Zero watched as cold liquid nitrogen hissed around an enormous chamber door. Before him, hidden for over a century, floated a ship unlike anything else in Zorvan records. It wasn't designed by the Zorvan. It wasn't even entirely physical. It shimmered, part metal, part void, its shape never still, like it refused to follow physics. The AI system warned him. Caution, category red, weapon, status, unstable, last activation, unknown name. Entity class, vessel, cultura, origin, unknown. Xaro stared in awe. If humanity brought back their legend, he whispered, we will wake ours. At that same hour, the TSS Valiant exited hyperspace into a quiet system known as Varen's Halo, a small place, rich with fuel and refugee camps, newly freed from Zorvan control. The stars here were peaceful, calm. But inside the Valiant, something felt wrong. Commander Jace Taller stood on the deck, watching as sensor readings failed to stabilize. Report, he ordered. The AI replied, its tone tighter than before, spatial fabric bending unnaturally. Unknown mass incoming, not Zorvan, not Terran, not mapped. And then the warning came, gravimetric signature matches archived file, Project Cultura. Jace narrowed his eyes. He knew the name. It was buried deep in Earth's final war logs. Cultura, a vessel built by an extinct civilization, a living ship, sentient, made to devour star systems during a forgotten war thousands of years ago. Earth had only encountered it once. The cost was 3 planets. Now, the Valiant faced it alone. The stars above Varen's halo began to blink, then vanished. Not covered. Erased. A swirling void expanded through space, forming a massive shape, a ship, but also a shadow. Tentacles of anti-light reached out. A hull that moved like a heart, no bridge, no engines, just hunger. The Valiant's shield surged on instinct. Jace stared in silence. Even he, the survivor of Earth's darkest hours, felt his chest tighten. The AI whispered, we are not enough. But then came a sound, a ping, then 2. Then 15, one by one, blue signals appeared. On the radar, Terran ships. Old ones, hidden ones. Ships long believed destroyed. Driven, war-torn, broken but rising. Their messages were short, encrypted, but clear. Valiant located, Captain Taller confirmed. Awakening protocols engaged. Earth never stopped. Watching across space, humans who had hidden in exile were rising again. Ships buried in deep space caves powered up, outposts once silent activated long-range drives. Earth's last warriors, scientists, and leaders had waited for a signal, and the Valiant had been that signal. The AI of the Valiant spoke calmly. Receiving command channel from Terran Command. Patch through. Jace nodded. And for the first time in 100 years, he heard a voice from home. Commander Taller, a woman said, steady and clear, this is Admiral Ray of Earth's Shadow Fleet. Your mission continues. Stand fast. We are coming. The galaxy shuddered. Because now, Earth was awake. And it was no longer one man against an empire. In the next moments, Valiant and 5 Terran dreadnoughts formed up in combat formation. Cultura pulsed forward, space screaming around it. JACE stood tall, eyes forward, AI, weapons ready, locked and loaded. Good, let's remind the stars who we are. The battle that followed was one no one ever forgot. Cultura bent reality, but Terran ships fought with sacrifice, strategy, and pain. One Terran ship rammed its core directly into Cultura's tendrils, exploding in a light that reversed time for seconds. Another lured Cultura into a neutron star's edge, and the Valiant, scarred, burning, flew straight into the creature's heart and fired its final cannon. Light returned to space. Silence returned to the stars, and when the dust cleared, the enemy was gone. Cultura was no more. Later, survivors from dozens of planets sent out one message: the legends were true. Earth never died. It was just waiting, and now humanity is awake.